Let's get started the session. So we have one last paper presentation by Georges Hattab on 10 challenges unexplainable analog of growth function and distributions for statistical literacy and fluency, I believe.
Hi there, I'm Georges, and I'm happy to present the 10 challenges and explainable analogs of growth functions and distributions for statistical literacy and fluency. This is possible using a set of 12 cubes with a bag and a pencil. You can see the 12 cubes and the pencil on the left-hand side. At the crossroad between physical visualization, personalized learning, statistics education, and public understanding of science, I develop concepts aimed at advancing personalized learning of statistics through physical visualization. While personalized learning is listed as the first of the 14 grand challenges for engineering in the 21st century, statistics is a crucial process behind how we make discoveries in science. Statistics help us make informed decisions based on data and predictions. However, understanding statistics is a challenge for many people, and personalized learning methods are much needed. This is especially true when a wide variety of learners exist, with different preferences and varying degrees of motivation. Starting off with the example problem of flattening the curve. During COVID-19, a slight reduction in the increase in cases was often considered a victory over the virus. Well, most of us observe growth on a daily basis, which leads us to linearize it in our minds, to think that things are not so bad. In reality, exponential growth tends to be a short-term phenomenon, so we do tend to minimize its effects. The mitigation with protective measures was needed, so we could transform the curve of the total caseload into a logistic curve in which the increase in caseloads becomes more logarithmic and then levels off. This is what you see in the blue curve. Perhaps the idea of exponential growth seemed too fantastic to believe at the time, or the public did not know what the curve really meant. Can we improve things for the exponential growth, or other functions, and even distributions? The short answer is yes. The longer one is, well, we need to have a certain recipe. Given the diversity of individual preferences and the complexity of each human brain, we need to develop teaching methods that optimize learning and with creative solutions. So, with the overarching goal of trying to boost the understanding of such statistical concepts, I turn to gamification and data physicalization to lay out 13 initiatives with the help of 12 cubes, a pencil, and a bag. 3 motivations of data physicalizations are adopted: discover, present, and enjoy, followed by 10 gamification techniques, which I use to spark motivation, engage, and encourage learning. So I'm briefly gonna go over the first 3. To discover things, guidance is offered with a sequence of events. We have clear encodings that are coupled with storytelling elements that guide the audience to discover what we are communicating. In the second step, present, presentation conveys information from us, the designers, to the audience. And the presentation here means that we have to engage and connect with the audience with high-level information and potentially relatable examples. For instance, the flattening of the curve for COVID-19. The third step, enjoy. Learning new things should come with a certain amount of satisfaction, and the purpose of this initiative is to first provide positive feedback and encouragement, and then to elaborate on previously discovered concepts and present them in a domain-specific manner. In this case, we're talking about statistics, so we will have to rely on statistical terminology and maybe even some mathematical notations. So let's check out how this looks like for the exponential curve. The example challenge starts again with the 3 main steps as a way to design the challenges. So discover reads as consider each cube a value of 2. From left to right, start with 2, then 4, then 6, then 8, then 16. So as if it was, a simple step-by-step instruction. You might wonder you're missing some cubes to complete this, since the value 8 requires 4 cubes and the value 16 require 8. If you started with 12 cubes, you cannot complete that. So to represent this difference, you may need more cubes or blocks, or may actually end up using the pencil as a representation of 6 cubes. So this negative space in this scenario helps us understand that aspect that we present, that is the exponential function and how it increases by a constant percentage or ratio in each time interval. Following that, we effectively write the relatable example that in this case could be the COVID-19 caseload increase. Finally, enjoy starts off with, well done, you just made an exponential function that increases by 2 to the power of n, within varying from 1 to 4. You can also give then the written formula, and we explain things in a more mathematical way. So a variety of growth functions and distributions are explained in an analog fashion. We start off with 2 functions, linear and exponential, and follow up with 8 different distributions, from uniform to chi-squared. And secret challenges added, which is distribution comparisons that help then see some of the repeated parts in a different light, since like breadcrumbs in a story, we're actually going from an easy to hard difficulty with sequential challenges with additional elements which are added after players have completed a challenge. And since some of them often are repeating with maybe a twist, this is then valuable. So as scientists, there is a responsibility and pressing need to better communicate simple concepts and ideas. Apart from being limited by screen space and resolution, I think that for better or worse, our estimation of underlying functions and distributions carries us through everyday life. Further user-based evaluation is required, and there may even be a really interesting link here with data visualization literacy when we're talking about encodings. Please go ahead, try them out, share them, maybe even use Lego pieces or sugar cubes. Don't forget, discover, learn, and enjoy. Thank you.
All right, I believe George is online.
Hi there.
All right, thanks, George. So we now have time for questions. Any questions from the audience before Slido gets a go? Okay, let's start with Slido since there's one here. So this is a long one. Actually, let's do the short one first. It's easier. How can I, as a teacher, get curricula and examples for how to use this idea in my classroom?
Okay, thanks for the question. So I would say the easy part would be to download the supplementary data, which is a PDF and it's a print-ready file. So I would also find Legos or sugar cubes or any blocks that you have in handy, and just organize basically small teams of students and start with the easier ones, so probably going to be the linear and then the exponential, and then build up from there. In terms of different examples, or potentially, I don't know which grade then the students would be, but I would start off with that.
Excellent. So a related question, in a sense, these exercises connect to topics often taught in more advanced statistics courses. In these courses, much of the work involves studying and manipulating equations. Do you see any connection between these exercises and how statistics curriculums are taught in practice?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks. So I would like to take a parallel that often is, or I would say could be made when we think of mathematical proofs. There is a parallel there with visual proofs, and there are two, I would say, conflicting camps where one says you need the equations to actually have a mathematical proof, versus those that say, well, it is easier to understand it by seeing it. So I would say that a good solution to this would be meeting in between, where we are navigating the equations even in more advanced statistics courses, and at the same time seeing the connections and building up the actual proof visually on the side. So more or less side by side. I don't know if this is answering the question as per se explicitly or directly. Yeah.
All right, so we have now also, Vis4Good has a poster paper presentation. So, Nargis?
Yeah, next up, and last but not least, we have Neil Tuzuko presenting a poster on teaching data visualization for social impact. I believe it's a live virtual presentation.
Oh, hi. So I don't hear anything, but I assume that it is my turn. So I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, there's just no sound right now, but yeah, okay. I'm just going to share my screen and then start the presentation. Hi, thank you for the opportunity to present this poster here today. My name is Nil Tuzcu. I work at Harvard University and occasionally teach at different institutions. I'm going to talk about the class I taught in Spring 21 at the School of Visual Arts. The class is called Telling Stories with Data for Social Impact. The school, SVA, has a master's program called Design for Social Innovation, and one of the topics they teach in the program is data visualization. When I was designing the class curriculum, I had two main questions. First, how do you balance teaching the technical aspects of data visualization with teaching the social impact discourse in terms of data viz? And second, how do you encourage students to focus on telling stories that promote social change and civic impact? With that two questions on mind, I designed the class components. Every class, we had a lecture, a mini quiz, and an interactive in-class activity, followed by a presentation of case studies by the students. The second half of the class is dedicated to teaching technical tools and coding, such as Tableau, Flourish, and D3. Lectures and activities introduced a variety of topics from narrative design to user testing to accessibility to data privacy. We also analyzed sample projects that combine data visualization and social impact discourse, such as anti-eviction mapping projects or Gapminder. And finally, the most essential component of the class was the client projects, where students in pairs work with mission-driven organizations who already have some data and help with that. We collaborated with 3 organizations who worked on forced migration, economic growth, and education. So I had double intentions with these client projects. First, these organizations had defined problems, existing data sets, and the mission. So it provided a good starting point for students to begin their projects. And second, collaborating with these institutions is not always very easy. So I wanted them to practice and learn how to communicate and negotiate design and database ideas with them, and learn how to overcome communication challenges. This is one of the projects from the class. It's about migration in Albania. So they started with brainstorming sessions with the clients, worked on sketches, mock-ups, wireframes, analyzed the data sets, work on visualization options. And this is a slide from their final project submission. You can see how they combined graphics, texts, and visualizations. Well, collaborating with mission-driven organizations in the class was overall successful. Particularly, the groups gained experience in working with not so perfect data sets, meaning that data was usually missing or very messy. So they needed to develop design solutions for that. Another thing that they also understood how the nonprofit organizations work and what are the best tools for communications with them. So the class website is still online and it has all the lectures and materials. You are more than welcome to visit metricsanddatavisualization.com. Thank you.
All right. We have time for a question or two. All right, I was going to type this question in Slido, but I'm just going to say it. So, Neil, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay,
right now.
Great. That's important. So, as someone who teaches visualization, it would be great to be able to adapt some of these types of activities into our classes. I often find that final projects are very kind of computer science based, find a data set, visualize it. So what are your recommendations for people who teach visualization courses and getting started and kind of leveling up how they go about these projects?
Sorry, just to clarify the question. So, I mean, are you asking more about the in-class activities, or are you just talking about those final projects where they work with organizations, institutions?
I think more of the former, the in-class activities. It sounds like doing the organizations is a lot of work.
Yeah, so yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. And then, so in terms of the in-class activities, so for example, one of the activities, would be just for example, giving them a data set, like a very, very CSV, very, very simple data sets, just let's say a CSV with just a few just rows, and then giving them some colorful pencils and then paper, and then just tell them to brainstorm ideas with their hands, with their just sketches, stuff like that. So I would say in-class activities, data should be very, very simple. But then at the same time, tools should be very much hands-on. So there can be toys, pencils, other stuff, for them to dive into those design thinking, I would say.
Excellent, thank you. And now Slido is popping. So let's just ask one. Oh, no, getting word that we're out of time, Neil. We're going to copy and paste these into Discord. So if you could sign on then and get some of these questions tackled, that would be great.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah, let's thank our speaker one more time.
Am I here? Am I? Okay, awesome. So I just want to thank you all for making this workshop. Am I connected? Yes, perfect. Engaging. Thank you for your interaction, your great question. Thank you for submitting and giving excellent talks. And now we are moving to this breakout discussion. So we have 3 discussion themes, which are the same as the themes that was running for the workshop this year. Pedagogy, which is gonna be run by Michelle, processed by Emily, and I'm gonna lead the protest one. So instruction, we want you to choose one of these and join the group either online in breakout room or in person. And then we'll have 30 minutes of discussion. We're going to use Jamboard to help you with this, board that you can put sticky notes and have discussions and organize your thoughts. And then 10 minutes, we're coming together as a whole group to share the main outcomes and main thoughts that came out. So here's the tiny URL to our Jamboard. I believe it's also posted on Discord for online attendees, 43CBZZXU. And then let's move, I'll leave this later on for you, the link. Let's move to the first one by Michelle.
And I will also quickly reiterate, which I know we're going to say later, which is if you were joining us online, we are going to have an online parallel set of breakout rooms. So you get to be part of the discussion as well and contribute to the Jam boards. So one of the themes that have come up for many of the talks we've had today, as well as past sessions, is the idea of pedagogy, how to engage through teaching, both using novel teaching tools and physicalization to talk about data literacy and data ethics, but also like our last talk, like how do you engage in the classroom with community partners and making direct social impact. So in the pedagogy breakout, we're going to be sharing ideas and brainstorming how we can do that more effectively as a community.
Okay, and then just a quick primer for the process part of it. So this is, really how to get involved. So from the call for participation, this is about designing, evaluating, or circulating visualization, taking on this special character and urgency when we have matters of social importance, or as part of collaborations and relationships between Viz experts and mass audiences. So in my experience, trying to connect with community partners, like Neil was talking about before, there's a lot of challenges involved in that. So maybe we can share some ideas on how to facilitate this process better and how we can all get involved.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, here's the protest one. We're going to talk about women, life, freedom. The idea of protest is like how charts and graphs can place inequality or equity in stark relief and can act as a persuasive in a world that strives to be data-driven. So we're going to talk about unequal way of collecting or presenting or organizing data in our society. As you can see, I'm wearing this t-shirt in support of Women, Life, Freedom, which is the protest led in Iran. This is after Mahsa Amini's death on September 16, beaten by morality police. She was dead, and women in Iran started this, what is called the first women-led revolution in Middle East with this really modern slogan for women, life, freedom. Awesome. So here's a tiny URL. Please get online. We would love to have this conversation organized and also continue from there. So please write up your name and team members and start joining the groups.